Hello everyone, thank you very much for joining us today on our last Masters in Finance webinar for 2017, focusing on the Career Centre support to our Masters in Finance students. My name is Chrispa Palaiologou and I'm the Recruitment Manager for the MBA and the Masters in Finance programs. My team and I are responsible for supporting you every step of the way up until you submit your application. Today I have with me Kira Hughes, a Career Program Lead and Coach at our Career Centre team. Firstly, I would like to thank Kira for joining us today and offering her expertise to our potential students. Kira has a lot of experiences that she will be sharing with us today throughout her presentation, covering topics such as what service the Career Centre is offering to our students, building a career path, and many others. I would like to let our audience know that this webinar is being recorded and the link will be shared with you all by the end of this week. Kira will start her presentation now. I would like to ask our audience to start thinking of questions throughout the presentation relevant to our topic and start writing on the chat box below. As with the previous webinars, we are focusing on this specific subject and we will not be answering any other unrelated questions. We also have limited time, so if we do not cover your questions, please contact us via email. We will share all these details at the end of this presentation. I will now let Kira take over and start her presentation.
Thank you very much, Chrispa. So welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are dialing in from. It's a pleasure to be here representing the Career Centre in today's webinar, which I understand is the fourth in your series of webinars. So as Chrispa has said, we're very much featuring this webinar around how we will partner with you with the Career Centre. So I'll take the next sort of 20-25 minutes to talk through the kind of support that you could expect should you join us on the MiF full-time or part-time programme. So just before going into some more details, a little introduction about me. So I recently joined RBS in August, and as Chrispa said, I work as one of our career leads. I'm also a career coach, and I've got approximately 8 years experience working within careers within a business school setting. I've got a wide range of experience coaching and consulting with early, mid and senior career transitions across a variety of sectors. Before moving into careers, I worked within recruitment and HR in a variety of roles, and I do very much enjoy using that recruiter mindset when working with students, helping them stay ahead of the competition. I should also just let you know that I will be joined at some point by a colleague of mine, Carola Dillinger, who also works as a career coach within the Career Centre and was previously part of the Finance Employer Engagement team. So she'll be here to support with the question, the Q&A session towards the end of our time. Do feel free to start putting in your questions. I can see some of you are doing that now. If we are unable to answer those questions through the presentation, we will take time at the end to do that. So just before we go into the support from the Career Centre, let's just take a quick look at current MiF classes. So here you see a snapshot of the full-time and the part-time programmes. So you can see from the classes there's 126 and 65 exceptional students that we really do have the pleasure of working with. I think the variety in terms of average age, work experience, the number of countries represented really makes for a colourful and diverse cohort that we get to work with, a cohort of intelligent people that we support through many different career transitions. I'm sure that many of you on today's webinar have already listened to the previous webinars where you were given further details about the two programmes. But as you know, in terms of the differences between the full-time programme, this runs from 10 to 16 months with the optional 4th term. And with the part-time programme, this is running over a 22-month period. Some of you may be dialing into this call and still considering which programme is the right programme for you. So just in terms of looking at some of the drivers that may dictate whether you opt for the full-time programme. This really is a programme that is focused on those that are ready to make a career break and to truly immerse themselves fully into the learning opportunity, make the most of the full-time experiences and the projects and create a smooth platform into internships or full-time positions straight after the programme. Those looking for the part-time typically have a desire to carry on working whilst learning, and it really is a great opportunity to directly apply that learning within the workplaces that you continue to work for. You will maintain and gain access to the equivalent rich learning programme that the full-time people have access to, but over a longer period of time. And the focus of the majority of our part-time MiF students really is on career advancement rather than career switching. So just now looking at how we will help support you to manage your career through both of those programs. So whether you're looking to accelerate or transition your career, or perhaps even start your own business, the Career Centre will partner with you as you take full ownership of your career management. And we do so through a variety of ways. We'll provide you with a career skills toolkit, which is delivered through a variety of mediums, through online learning as well as in-person workshops. We also provide career coaching, where you'll have access to experienced professionals, career coaches and peer leaders. We also have an employer engagement team, a very large employer engagement team that provides really useful labour market intelligence, and signposts you to relevant resources to help further your research into your areas of interest. And you have access to a range of on-campus networking and advertised career opportunities. So looking at the Career Skills Toolkit, this was developed in collaboration with faculty and input from recruiters. As I've said, we offer a range of workshops and small group learning to build immediate job search skills, such as writing an impactful CV and effective interviewing, as well as focus on lifelong professional skills that you will draw on many times throughout your career, such as networking and communicating your personal brand. We suggest that you adopt a 3-stage career management framework, which is explore, plan, execute. So in the explore phase, we will support you to help you understand and identify your unique values, strengths and interests. And from the output of your personal assessment and development programme, you'll work to research your career options further, really build a strong career vision through self-reflection exercises from our career management handbook, which will help you to identify a strong base from which you can start researching and networking. During this stage, you'll also start plugging any knowledge gaps that you have identified for yourselves and start having a very wide variety of conversations with different people. In the plan stage, so once you've defined a focused number of potential directions, the planning stage will see you formulate a robust go-to-market plan with target organisations, mapping out who you should be approaching and at what times that make it appropriate. You'll consider your networking strategy and leverage the power of the LBS alumni to finesse the effectiveness of your plan. And then the final stage of execution, so actioning your networking strategy, generating applications, securing interviews, and progressing opportunities and landing offers. And throughout that whole stage, we will obviously support you. The team is made up of career coaches, sector leads, as well as operational support. We also train and employ peer leaders who are our second-year MBAs, who come from a variety of different sector backgrounds. And we also bring in external mentors and coaches that again supplement the expertise that we already have within our core team. So together with our experience, which is deep and wide-ranging, we're able to treat you as individuals and work with you on your individual career goals. Absolutely, we aim to be honest in our opinions and encourage you to take our support. So just speaking to those that are on the part-time or considering the part-time option, we do recognise that presents some challenges, given that you will be working full-time while studying part-time. So challenges in terms of accessing the support. But just to assure you that we do provide regular evening career coaching as well as run weekend career skills sessions, particularly in the spring and summer terms, so that you can still benefit from this expertise and support that we offer. So now let's just take a look at career destinations based on the most up-to-date employment destination data that we have. So here you can see we had 92% accepted an offer within 3 months of graduation for our MiF programme on the 2016 programme. This is the highest MiF employment rate since 2007, a time when your students' employment options and choices were indeed very different. I have no doubt that you are very well aware, the finance employment market has undergone significant change, with banks in particular decreasing the size of their structured recruitment programs. But MiF students have nonetheless been able to distinguish themselves with the strong technical and interpersonal skills that they develop through the programme, and still been able to secure employment across a wide range of employers, both in the UK and elsewhere, through both structured and unstructured routes to market. So for those of you that are listening and come from an international background and are perhaps wondering what support do we provide to those that are looking to secure employment within the UK for those that need sponsorship. So overall, the data suggests that a similar proportion of EEA and non-EEA nationals are successful at staying in the UK post-graduation. I think it's fair to say that smaller firms may be less likely to sponsor, and sometimes they might use it as a barrier in terms of showing reluctance to hire. It's not to say that it's never been an issue before, but it is an issue that people continue to overcome. What's most important is that you self-assess for yourself, you identify and research your target sectors, and work with us to form a relevant and coherent story that helps you position yourselves strongly for those roles that you would like to achieve. In terms of Brexit, and the question that I'm sure is on many of your minds, and how much of an impact has Brexit had on recruitment activities in London? Again, fair to say nothing is concrete as yet. It is still being negotiated, so we're still in this period of transition. Articles are varying on the possible shifts of roles to some European locations, although other articles maintain that the finance setup and the traditions of London as a leading finance centre are why there hasn't been a concrete shift, and our employer engagement team is in constant conversation with employers within the UK. Finance in London continues to grow, and there is always demand for high quality experienced finance students among the wide range of recruiters that we work for. It's something that we are still navigating ourselves and understanding, and there is an element of ambiguity. But as you can see from the data here, there is still a large proportion of international and UK students that secure employment within the UK. In case you are interested, in terms of contrasting this with previous employment data, so in 2015, 41% of the MiF secured employment within the UK. However, in 2014, 35% stayed within the UK. And I think those changes are reflected by the amount of employment opportunities that grow in other areas and other regions in Asia, for example. What I would say is always keep an open mind geographically. So in terms of looking at the sector choices, obviously finance remains the most popular with 84%. Within that, investment banking is the highest at 21%. It's dropped off a little bit over the last 3 years, but conversely private equity has compensated, so doubling from the 2015 class to 2016 class. Interesting, consulting has steadily dropped as a sector of choice for MiF students over the last 5 years. So many people want to make a transition from the sell side to the buy side. So just a word of caution or a word of note. This is very competitive and does require demonstrable interest in or ideas in investing, clear articulation of your transferable skills, and a targeted and proactive networking strategy. Additionally, some of you on this call may be thinking about wanting to move from the back office to the front office. Whilst this is possible and does happen, recruiters are very clear that students will need to sell their unique value and well-honed soft skills that complement the robust technical skills that you will require in class. We will work with you to support you in this, and the previous workshops on the previous slide will help show how we will do that in terms of really trying to help you identify your transferable skills and place them into a coherent story that makes sense for the roles that you are looking to target. So looking at employer engagement, so we do have an employer engagement team that is focused on developing relationships, maintaining relationships that we've had long-standing with employers, as well as developing new relationships with up-and-coming employers. They conduct a number of employer engagement activities. To do this, we run a jobs board for students and alumni with over 3,000 postings annually that you will have access to. There are hundreds of companies that come on campus each year, as well either individually giving recruitment presentations, company presentations and networking sessions, as well as attending the number of career fairs that we have. So here you can see we have a buy-side networking event that's coming up in March. There's also a technology and startup recruitment evening that will be attended by a number of new and upcoming fintech companies that might be of interest to you, as well as the other company-specific campus presentations. So examples of companies that will be on campus: Armour Partners, BAML, Citi, Goldman Sachs, etc. It is fair to say that we are seeing a reduction in individual recruiters taking on large numbers of students. So what that means, and you'll be able to see by the most up-to-date employment report that you can access on the website, is that our students end up in a wide range of boutique and large companies. And the variety of presentations and employer engagement activities that we engage in represents that. We also have a number of treks that supplement the employer activities. So, for example, the asset management trek to Hong Kong happened in October, as well as a private equity and banking trek to New York. And next year there'll be treks to Mumbai and London. So lots of fantastic opportunities for you to understand the diverse range of opportunities that might interest you and network and connect with employers. So moving on to some examples of hiring organisations. So here on this slide you can see some of the key employers that have recruited in the past. So some of those names will be of no surprise to you. However, some may be unthought of before. So we provide labour market intelligence on both traditional and emerging career options. So whether you're interested in a structured hiring programme with a well-established employer, or looking to work with an emerging startup within the fintech sector, for example, we will support the breadth of career pathways that are open to you. We also spend a significant amount of time preparing you in approaching the hidden job market, because again, it is fair to say that the networked job search will form as valuable a part of your job search strategy as responding to the structured hiring programs that are posted out to you and easily accessible. And we are increasingly seeing MiF students secure excellent opportunities through leveraging their own personal networks as well as those at LBS. So just coming towards the end of the presentation, so we'll be opening up for questions in just a moment, and I'm pleased to say that my colleague Carola has joined me now. But just to close, really, to get you to think about what type of a person that we are looking for on the MiF program and what makes for a successful outcome. So those who are most successful with the career changes that they set themselves really give themselves permission to explore continually. So improving how quickly they can spot the next move. So they find and create cultures that allow space to shift purposefully from one related area to the next. And one of our professors here, Jimena Ibarra, says in her book, Think Like a Leader, Act Like a Leader, that you need to develop something that she terms outsight, which is essentially this idea of trying out new things helps you to act your way into a new way of thinking. So it's along the same lines as design thinking, and it really is about this idea of starting with a focus, but always remaining open to opportunities that may present themselves to you. So it's this idea of career agility, this idea of having a plan, but being able to adapt it according to the changes in circumstances. So we'll encourage you to find ways to experiment to learn more about the sectors or roles that you're interested in. Having one or more internships, joining the student association clubs, going to conferences and treks are all ways of doing this. As I've mentioned, our employer engagement team collaborates with very much hand in hand with the student-run clubs to sponsor educational events and the regional or sector-specific treks that I've already mentioned. So what can you be doing now? I think it boils down to starting your research or continuing your research for those of you that have already begun. We will, of course, help you with your career research when you arrive, but knowing where you want to apply and doing your research in advance is an excellent start. We also strongly recommend that you're keeping up to date with what's happening within the markets, so reading the Financial Times, looking at websites such as eFinancial Careers, which is a really good way to sort of see where the employment opportunities are at the moment for your future reference. And also referencing the financial press daily are all things that you should be doing now on a daily basis.
Great, thank you very much for that. That was extremely useful, I think, for everyone. Welcome, Carola, as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Just to give you some breathing space as well, I'm going to talk a bit about the next steps. Just for our audience now, these are the next steps you can take to find out more about and keep in touch with us. You can submit your CV on our website for an informal consultation. We would be happy to talk you through your personal profile and give you any advice you might need for your application, help you out throughout and support you throughout the application process. And you can contact us to arrange a consultation or schedule a phone chat if you want to. So these are some of the next steps you can take. Now we're going to move on to the Q&A. There are quite a lot of questions that are coming through, quite a lot of interesting ones as well, especially when it comes to MBA versus MiF. So whoever wants to start answering, that's fine, you can just go for it. So the first question we have is, can you please share the differences in career opportunities between MBA versus Masters in Finance?
Okay, so I'll start, and I'm sure that Carola will have things to add to that. I think ultimately it boils down to the fact that the MiF is very much focused on those that want to have an immediate and a long-term career within finance. Okay, and obviously finance represents lots of different opportunities. It may be within a bank, within private equity, within asset management, with insurance, whatever that might be, but ultimately you are looking to stay within the finance sector. The MBA obviously is a lot broader and can potentially open up broader opportunities to students on the MBA. Having said that, those that are on the MBA, some still go into the finance sector. I don't have the exact stats on me, Carola may know those, but also a lot will go within corporates, within sort of business development, strategy roles within corporates, as well as obviously consulting. I think that's where the biggest difference is. If you're looking to go into strategy or management consulting, the majority, a larger proportion of MBAs will do that rather than the MiF. And as I said in one of the earlier slides, those on the MiF going into consulting has declined over the years. I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Absolutely. I can only echo what Kira has said. I think if you already know what you would like to do and therefore continue to specialize through a Master in Finance program, that is very much up to your individual career choice. Whereas if you are less sure or possibly looking to explore a variety of options, that tends to be more of an MBA route.
Great, thank you very much. And that connects a bit to the next question that says, are all finance jobs open to both MBA and Masters in Finance students? Do you see a preference from recruiters to get MBA students over Masters in Finance?
So yes, all the finance jobs, in fact all the jobs, not just the finance jobs, all the jobs that are posted on our job board are open to all the programs that are appropriate in terms of level of experience. So what that means is that, you know, MBA level, MiF level jobs are open across both programs. Do we see specific companies that would prefer one over the other? I don't know that I have seen that, to be honest with you. I think in general, as Kira said, consulting tend to look at the MBA slightly more, but I think that again is a function both also in terms of what the students are looking to do, as well as some of the classes that are taught on that course versus the MiF. And then I think the rest is very much up to an individual's profile rather than a sort of specific program profile, because of course they do look at each candidate's transferable skills in conjunction with, you know, their networking interaction, their motivation, and so forth. So I think that's when it comes down much more to the individual rather than one program versus the other.
Great. Thank you very much. The next question is to do with a bit more mature students, older students. Someone is asking what's your take on older students maximizing career prospects with the Masters in Finance program. Are there any disadvantages for the mature students or when it comes to career prospects?
So I think it depends what sort of career prospects you are referring to. If you are looking at the structured programs at, for instance, the investment banks, you have to bear in mind that if you are recruiting for a summer associate or a full-time associate role in an investment bank, you are essentially competing with employees that have done 3 years as analysts. So if you have a lot more experience than that, that's not to say that that is impossible, but there will be questions around your motivation. And you also, as a candidate, have to be aware of what that means for your career in terms of possibly having to take a step back from previous leadership responsibility that you would then no longer have. So I think, again, it comes down very much to the roles and the programs that you are looking for. If you know, structured hiring or sort of these graduate programs as such are not the route you're willing to take, I think then it becomes a lot less of an issue, because then you're being recruited much more on the basis of your previous experience, your transferable skills on top of the MiF as a degree.
Perfect. Thank you very much. The next question we have is what kind of recruitment events does the Career Centre run, and can you please give us some examples of some recent ones maybe that.
Yeah, so in the autumn and the spring term, as previously mentioned, we host a range of banking and asset management firms on campus for different opportunities. Some corporates also attend, and I think, as you saw from the employer section, some of our MiFs have been recruited into finance-focused roles within corporates, and they may be coming on campus in autumn with full-time opportunities. So in the spring term, we have a tech fair a boutique consulting event, and also an alumni finance networking event. I already mentioned the asset management event that we have happening in March as well. So these are all supplemented by a number of individual company presentations, including a small amount from private equity and MBB consulting firms. But these are also supplemented by all of the treks that are on offer to you as well.
Great, great. As we were expecting, we do have a question for Brexit. With respect to Brexit, do companies in Europe hire LBS Masters in Finance graduates, or are jobs based in the EU only accessible through personal networking?
No, we have essentially global job postings. So, you know, of course, students are encouraged to use their network to supplement that and to go out to the market in many different platforms. But what I will say is that we do have both international companies with, you know, a variety of offices posting roles in those different offices, as well as companies specifically based in certain other regions that come to LBS for the talent pool.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying, you've obviously got to consider language requirements. So obviously they're only going to consider you if you speak the local language, and just having English as the language is not going to be enough to get you that job within Europe.
Yeah. And what I would add on that, what I usually say to prospective students is that like the Career Centre will be there to support you. The program office will give you the skill set, and through the program you'll learn a lot of stuff. You'll get the network, you'll have all this stuff. It's just up to you to take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. Like, we will give you the skill set, we will give you the tools, but it's really up to you to use them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know anything about where do students come from, where do they go to? Do they tend to do a lot of transition between functions, or would it...
So I think the best place to get that information in terms of where they come from and where they go to is the employment report, which you can access from our website. So there they'll talk about the class profile in terms of the regional background that they have come from, as well as then the sectors that they moved into.
Good. And why would someone choose Masters in Finance over the MBA? Why would someone choose a specialized Masters instead of doing a general MBA? And what are the advantages of that?
So I think, again, it goes back to the point that if you are looking to focus a long-term career within the finance sector, the Masters in Finance absolutely makes sense. If you are a bit more open to opportunities and looking for a broader curriculum and academic experience, then perhaps the MBA.
And what I would say, and that's why the recruitment team is there to actually support you on that decision. We would never suggest to prospective students to apply to 2 different programs. Just get in touch with us and we can advise you further on your profile, depending on your aspirations, what you want to do, because it really depends. If you're coming from finance and you want to end up in finance, then a specialized master will make more sense for you. But if you're looking into something different, transitioning into a completely different sector, then the MBA might be the answer for your profile. Someone is asking, they're saying they're international and they're worried about visa situations and things like that. How will the Career Centre support them to stay in the UK, or try and support them to stay in the UK?
Okay, so I think just to allay those fears, I think as you can see from the class profile and previous years, most of our students are international. No matter where you're coming from, all students receive the same support from us. Like I said, there's a limit to what we can do in terms of whether a firm sponsors or not. We will always be as transparent and open with you where we are able to, where the companies are transparent and open with us. So we won't be encouraging you to make applications to companies that we know that do not sponsor. Some smaller firms are less likely to sponsor than larger firms, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen for the right person. And there are many cases where international students across a multiple of programs, whether it's the MiF or the MBA or some of our early careers programs, manages to convince that employer that they are the right person for them, and then the employer will go through the relatively easy process of getting sponsorship for them. So please don't allow your international status to prevent you from considering career options. Sometimes you might have to work a little bit harder, and we will support you with that, but it is still achievable. And as you can see from the statistics, many of our international students still secure employment either within the UK or within other locations.
Great, thank you very much. And also, as Kira said beforehand, we are a very global school in general. The fact that we're located in London doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stay in London. There are opportunities all over the world. Just make sure you keep your mind open, as Kira mentioned before.
Yeah, I think it's probably also just worth mentioning that we do have members of the careers team located in other regions. So we have a career coach as well as someone who has responsibility for developing relationships with companies and recruiters within our Middle East, in Dubai, so within that region, and also now within China, so really supporting and supplementing the work that we can do in educating you about the employment opportunities in other markets. A number of our careers team and employer engagement team themselves come from international backgrounds. They've worked across America, Europe, Asia, so we're using that expertise as well to support you.
Great, thank you very much for that. The next question says, when does the hiring for internships begin? And any reason why only 50% of the Masters in Finance students do internships as opposed to 95% MBAs doing an internship? It's quite an interesting question.
I think the main reason for that, I would say, is that the MBA is a 2-year program. So in many ways, they have to do an internship. They can choose to take the summer off, I guess, but they do not have the choice of graduating after 1 year. I think that would absolutely be the main difference. In terms of when internship recruitment kicks off, that depends a little bit on the sector. Officially, so the application in earnest with the interview processes, that starts in January. However, a lot of the networking and pre-engagement and exploration absolutely starts pretty much as soon as you come on campus. So there's a little bit of a run-up phase, I guess, that also gives you the opportunity to really prepare and explore. And then everything kicks off in earnest in January.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, in terms of how you're supported by the careers team, in terms of the careers toolkit, it is very much front-loaded as much as possible. And this is so that you are in the position to be able to engage in these networking conversations, have thought through your transferable skill set, identified gaps, start addressing those gaps, and start focusing the conversations and the networking that you want to have, so that come January, you have a ready CV, you have a ready cover letter, probably by October, mid-October, that's already done and dusted, so that come January, when you're having to make the applications, you are in a really good place, and you're also interview ready as well. You would have done interview preparation, and we do that purposefully so that you are in a good position to apply for these internships.
And I would say there will be a lot of networking opportunities before you start, when you start, and after. Like, we're big on the community thing. We are very social here at LBS. There are a lot of opportunities for you to socialize and network with other people, other students from other programs. There's a huge alumni community out there that you can reach out to, and all these are advantages that you'll be able to take advantage of when you basically accept the offer within LBS. and you're part of our community. And how many different internships can a Masters in Finance full-time student, I'm guessing now we're talking about full-time Masters in Finance, undertake apart from term 4?
I think that very much depends on your course load and how you can structure your studies. I have certainly seen students across various programs do a number of internships, some of them part-time, some of them full-time. So it very much depends on how you can arrange your own time, essentially. And also to a certain extent what your visa status is and how that may or may not restrict. I know you can undertake some full-time internships on that and some part-time work, but there are some restrictions around that you absolutely need to adhere to.
Just to briefly cover that, the electives after I think it's the third term that you start taking on your electives of the Masters in Finance. The electives come in different formats as well, so you can actually build your timetable the way it suits you in order to fit different experience within it. And that's why Carola is saying basically that it really depends on your schedule and how you're going to build it up. So yeah. Give us 1 second. If accepted, how can I start preparing before the start of the course in terms of job prospects? Can the school help in pre-study, pre-preparing for internships before the program? Or is that something that will start after they come in?
So I think that you will have access to a limited amount of online resources from the summer, which will help to start getting you to think about how to craft your one-page CV. Most of the work will start, I'll be honest, once you're here on campus and you start in September. In terms of the preparation that you can be doing beforehand, I think it's really kind of almost behaving like your career coach, your own career coach, asking yourselves those sorts of questions that you anticipate and would expect anyone that was interviewing that would ask, such as, you know, why have you had the career that you've had to date? Why have you decided to take the Masters in Finance? How is that complementing your experience and creating value for the position that you want to go to? I think if you can start researching the options that you are interested in and narrowing it down to, you know, perhaps 2 areas within the wide sector of finance would be useful, and start having networking conversations. There is no reason why you cannot start engaging in those right now. You don't have to be part of the LBS community and get permission to do that. We give you permission right now to go out and reach to as many people within your networks or your networks to think about, you know, oh, I'm looking to move from sell side to buy side, or I'm looking to move into private equity, having had this experience within finance. Find people who have done that, interview them, ask for information in terms of how they managed to make that move, what did they find most challenging, what advice would they give to you, because all of that information is going to be really useful for you to start thinking about how you, as we've said, build up this story, build up this coherent story for that next transition that you're looking to make, and then we will support you on the programme.
Perfect, thank you very much for that. I think we will wrap up now. We did receive quite a few questions about personal profiles and if I do fit the equation into getting admitted into the Masters in Finance program and what profile you're looking for. But because we were trying to focus on the Career Centre services on this webinar, we're not going to cover those. But do feel free to contact us at mif@london.edu. The recruitment team will be happy to answer any of those questions. And we're always very friendly and approachable, so do reach out to us and talk to us. Like, we love talking to people. There will be more webinars to come in the new year, so do stay tuned. Different subjects as well coming in. We hope you found the webinar useful. Thank you very much, Carola and Kira, for coming along and helping out and sharing your experiences and knowledge. We hope you